The wedding dress hung like a ghost in her closet, pristine and unworn. Mia stared at it, tears streaming down her face as she clutched her phone, the screen still displaying the text that had shattered her world. "I can't do this. I'm sorry." 24 hours before her wedding, and her fiancé was gone. What happened next would change not just her life, but the life of a quiet single father who never expected to find love again. If you've ever felt that life's darkest moments might actually be redirecting you towards something beautiful, this story will touch your heart. Like and subscribe to follow more real-life stories that remind us how unexpected connections can heal our deepest wounds. Mia Winters had always been the girl with the plan. At 32, she had meticulously charted every milestone of her life: prestigious law degree by 25, partnership track by 30, marriage at 32, first child by 34. Her wedding to Bradley, a successful investment banker, was supposed to be the crowning achievement in her carefully constructed life, until he disappeared the day before the ceremony. "I need a husband by tomorrow," Mia announced, her voice cracking as she stood in the doorway of her neighbor Ethan's apartment. It was nearly midnight, and she was still wearing her rehearsal dinner dress, mascara streaked down her face. Ethan Carter, a 36-year-old single father who had moved into the building just 3 months ago, stared at her in bewilderment. His 5-year-old daughter, Lily, was asleep in the bedroom behind him, and he'd been up late grading papers for his high school English class. "I think you might need a cup of tea first," he replied calmly, stepping aside to let her in. "And maybe someone to listen." That simple response, not dismissing her pain, not offering empty platitudes, just quiet understanding, was the first moment Mia felt she could breathe since receiving Bradley's text. Ethan's apartment was modest but warm, with children's drawings taped to the refrigerator and well-worn books stacked on every surface. It was nothing like the sleek, magazine-perfect condo she shared with Bradley, and somehow that made it easier for her to collapse onto Ethan's couch and finally let herself fall apart. "I have 200 people flying in for tomorrow," she sobbed as Ethan handed her a steaming mug. "My parents spent their retirement fund on this wedding. I can't face them all and tell them he just left." Ethan sat across from her, his kind eyes reflecting the soft lamplight. "That sounds overwhelming," he said simply. "But you don't have to figure it all out tonight." "You don't understand," Mia insisted. "My whole life was supposed to start tomorrow. Now what am I supposed to do?" Ethan was quiet for a moment, considering her words. "Maybe your life already started a long time ago," he finally said. "And tomorrow is just another day in it." Mia had never noticed Ethan before that night, though they'd passed each other in the hallway dozens of times. He was the kind of person who blended into the background, quiet, unassuming, always with a book tucked under his arm or his daughter's small hand in his. Now, sitting in his cluttered living room at midnight, she realized how little she knew about her neighbors, about the lives unfolding just feet away from her own. "What happened to Lily's mother?" she asked suddenly, desperate to think about someone else's problems instead of her own. A shadow crossed Ethan's face. "Cancer," he said softly. 3 years ago. Lily was just 2. Mia felt ashamed of her self-absorption. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "That must have been devastating." "It was," Ethan acknowledged. "Still is, some days. But we keep going. That's what people do." His words hung in the air between them, simple but profound. Mia looked around the apartment again, seeing it with new eyes, not as a cluttered, modest space, but as a home built with love and resilience. "I should call everyone," she said, the weight of responsibility settling back on her shoulders. "Cancel the venue, the caterers, tell the guests." "It's midnight," Ethan reminded her gently. "Nothing can be done until morning. Why don't you just rest for now?" The kindness in his voice undid her again. "I don't think I can be alone right now," she admitted. "Then don't be," he said, as if it were the simplest thing in the world. "You can sleep on the couch. I'll make up the bed for you." Mia woke the next morning to the sound of quiet giggling and the smell of pancakes. For a moment, she was disoriented, the unfamiliar ceiling above her a puzzle until the events of the previous night came rushing back. Her wedding day, except there would be no wedding. She sat up to find Lily standing in the doorway, watching her with curious eyes. The little girl had her father's warm brown eyes and a riot of curly hair pulled into uneven pigtails. "Daddy says you're sad because your prince turned into a frog," Lily announced. "But that's okay because frogs are actually pretty cool. I have a book about them." Despite everything, Mia found herself smiling. "Your dad said that, huh?" Lily nodded solemnly. "He says sometimes the story doesn't go how you think it will, but that doesn't mean it can't still have a happy ending." Ethan appeared behind his daughter, looking embarrassed. "Sorry about that. Lily, remember what we said about giving Ms. Winters some space?" "It's okay," Mia said, surprised to find that it actually was. "And please, call me Mia." Over breakfast, Ethan helped Mia make a list of everyone she needed to call. He offered to contact the venue and caterers for her, and when Lily asked if she could help too, Mia found herself teaching the little girl how to fold paper cranes, something her own grandmother had taught her to do when she was upset. "Each crane is a wish," Mia explained as Lily's small fingers struggled with the folds. "In Japan, they say if you fold 1,000 cranes, your wish will come true." "What are you wishing for?" Lily asked. Mia paused, realizing she didn't know anymore. For so long, her wishes had been tied to her carefully plotted life path. Now that path had disappeared, and she felt strangely unmoored, terrified, yes, but also somehow, free. "I'm not sure yet," she admitted. "But I think I'm wishing to be okay, whatever happens next." The calls were as difficult as Mia had feared. Her mother cried. Her father was stoically supportive but couldn't hide his disappointment. Her friends were shocked, angry on her behalf, full of questions she couldn't answer. By mid-afternoon, she was emotionally exhausted, slumped at Ethan's kitchen table with her phone battery dead and her spirit not far behind. "I can't believe I have to go back to work on Monday and face everyone," she groaned. The pitying looks, the whispers. "I don't think I can stand it." Ethan, who had been quietly making sandwiches while Lily napped, turned to her with a thoughtful expression. "You know, you don't have to go back right away." "What do you mean?" "Well," he said carefully, "you were planning to take 2 weeks off for your honeymoon, right? The time is already approved. Why not still take it?" Mia stared at him. "And do what? Sit in my apartment surrounded by wedding gifts I need to return?" "Or," Ethan suggested, "you could go somewhere. By yourself. Figure out what you want next." The idea was so foreign to Mia that she almost laughed. She had never traveled alone, had never even considered it. Her vacations had always been carefully researched, planned with military precision, and shared with friends or partners. "I wouldn't even know where to go," she said. Ethan shrugged. "That's the beauty of it. You could decide on the way to the airport." For the first time since Bradley's text, Mia felt a flicker of something that wasn't despair, a tiny spark of possibility. "That sounds terrifying," she admitted. Ethan smiled. "Most worthwhile things are, at least a little bit." 3 days later, Mia found herself on a plane to Costa Rica, a destination she'd chosen almost at random. Her apartment was sublet for the month, she'd decided to extend her time away, and her boss had been surprisingly understanding when she'd explained the situation. "Take the time you need," he'd said. "The firm will still be here when you get back." She'd left most of her carefully curated wardrobe behind, packing instead the few casual clothes she owned and some hastily purchased hiking gear. The wedding gifts had been returned, the non-refundable deposits written off as the cost of a valuable lesson, and Bradley's things boxed up and left with the doorman of their building. The only reminder of her almost wedding day was a single paper crane, made by Lily, which Mia had tucked into her passport holder. "For your wish," Lily had said solemnly when she gave it to Mia. "Daddy and I will make more while you're gone, to help it come true faster." Costa Rica was nothing like Mia had imagined. It was wilder, more vibrant, more challenging. She stayed in a small eco-lodge near the rainforest, where the power went out regularly and the Wi-Fi was spotty at best. She hiked until her muscles ached, swam in waterfalls, and for the first time in her adult life, had absolutely no schedule to follow. She thought about Ethan and Lily often, sending them occasional postcards and photos of monkeys that made Lily squeal with delight during their weekly video calls, a ritual that had started spontaneously and somehow became the highlight of Mia's week. "You look different," Ethan observed during one such call, about 3 weeks into her trip. "Sunburned?" Mia laughed, touching her nose, which was indeed peeling despite her diligent application of sunscreen. "No," Ethan said thoughtfully. "More present. Like you're fully wherever you are now." The observation struck Mia deeply because she realized it was true. For years, she had always been planning the next step, never fully inhabiting her current circumstances. Now, forced to live day by day, she was discovering parts of herself she hadn't known existed, a love of adventure, a resilience she'd never tested, a capacity for joy that had nothing to do with achievement. When Mia returned to New York a month later, the city felt both familiar and strange, like a favorite sweater that no longer quite fit. Her apartment, once her pride and joy with its minimalist design and perfect order, now felt sterile and impersonal. She found herself knocking on Ethan's door the evening she returned, a bag of Costa Rican coffee in hand and stories bursting to be told. Lily flung herself at Mia with a hug that nearly knocked her over. "We made 217 cranes," she announced proudly. "Daddy says that's almost a quarter of the way to your wish." Ethan stood in the doorway, a soft smile on his face. "Welcome back," he said simply, but something in his voice made Mia's heart flutter in a way it never had with Bradley. Over the following months, Mia found herself spending more and more time in Ethan and Lily's apartment. She helped Lily with her reading, joined them for movie nights, and even attended Lily's kindergarten graduation, beaming with pride as if the little girl were her own. She and Ethan moved slowly, cautiously, both aware of the precious balance they were creating. Their first kiss happened 6 months after her non-wedding day, on a bench in Central Park while Lily fed the ducks. It was nothing like the calculated romance she'd had with Bradley, no expensive restaurant, no perfectly timed moment. Just the two of them, talking about books, until the conversation naturally faded into something more. "I never expected this," Mia confessed one evening as they sat on his balcony, watching the city lights while Lily slept inside. "Any of it. If you had told me a year ago that I'd be here, like this, I would have thought you were crazy." Ethan took her hand, his fingers warm against hers. "Life rarely goes according to plan," he said. "Sometimes that's the best thing that can happen to us." On what would have been her first wedding anniversary, Mia woke to find Ethan and Lily in her kitchen, attempting to make crepes and creating a spectacular mess in the process. "What's all this?" she laughed, taking in the flour-dusted counters and Lily's batter-smeared face. "It's a celebration," Lily announced. "Daddy says today is an important day because it's when your life changed and brought you to us." Mia felt tears spring to her eyes as she looked at them, this small, imperfect family that had somehow become her own. "It is important," she agreed, kneeling to hug Lily. "It's the day I started finding my way home." Later that evening, after Lily was asleep, Ethan took Mia's hand and led her to the living room, where 1,000 paper cranes hung from the ceiling in a rainbow of colors. "We finished them last week," he said softly. "Lily wanted to make sure your wish came true." "It already has," Mia whispered, looking up at the beautiful canopy of folded paper above them. Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, simple ring, nothing like the ostentatious diamond Bradley had given her, but somehow infinitely more precious. "I'm not asking you to need a husband by tomorrow," he said, his voice steady but vulnerable. "I'm asking if you might want a partner for all your tomorrows." Mia looked at the man before her, not the husband she had once thought she needed, but the partner she had never known to wish for, and gave him the only answer that mattered. "Yes," she said. "All of them." 1 year later, Mia stood in a small garden, wearing a simple white dress that couldn't have been more different from the elaborate gown that still hung in the back of her closet. Lily stood beside her, proudly serving as both flower girl and ring bearer, while a small gathering of their closest friends and family watched. There was no elaborate catering, no string quartet, no carefully choreographed first dance. Instead, there was laughter, genuine joy, and a sense of rightness that Mia had never felt in all her years of perfect planning. As she and Ethan spoke their vows, Mia thought about the desperate woman who had shown up at his door 2 years ago, demanding a husband by tomorrow. How little she had understood then about what she truly needed, not a wedding, but a life built on authentic connection, not a husband who fit her checklist, but a partner who saw her at her worst and still believed in her best. "I never planned for you," she told Ethan as they exchanged rings. "And that's how I know this is real." If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe for more content that explores life's unexpected turns and the beautiful destinations they can lead us to. Remember that sometimes our greatest disappointments are actually redirecting us toward our deepest joys. We just have to be brave enough to follow the new path.